Are you recording there, Cameron?
Yep.
Going? All right, perfect. This is the Centerville Community School District. We're having a regular board meeting tonight, followed by a closed session. It is June 10th, 2024, at 5:30 p.m. in the Centerville admin offices. Our mission, district mission, is that all students will learn well, become lifelong learners, and contribute positively to society. This is our regular meeting. I'd like to call it to order with a roll call, please.
Berger.
Here.
Carter.
Here.
Catherine. Here. Johnson's absent. Moore's absent. Thomas.
Here.
Liston.
Here. I'd like to welcome all visitors. We got quite a few here tonight. I do not have my little dispensation thing that I'm supposed to read about public comments, but is anybody here to make a public comment in public forum? Seeing none, I'll kind of dispense with that reading and we'll move on to approving the agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion second to approve the agenda. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The agenda is approved. We need to approve the meetings of the minutes of the previous meetings, and I think there was 2 of them in there.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion second to approve the minutes of the previous meetings. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? They are approved. Okay. Old business. Approval of the CHS additional change order number 7.
Okay, so we have some information on that. We've got Rochelle here to kind of talk to you a little bit about that change order. We did a little work earlier today to work around some of the costs with that and everything. This is our gas line change order. So Rochelle, if you want to, feel free.
Joe, you want to come up with
Yeah.
it? I got Joe with
Oh,
Fair.
Joe, I didn't see
Yeah,
you.
go ahead.
Sorry.
We'll just both come up if that's okay.
That'd be great, yeah, sorry about that.
Joe's gonna have more insight than I will, so.
Good call.
Okay, do you want to just kind of get started with our
Yeah, I think
conversation? on
if
that
you want
today?
to go ahead, that'd be perfect.
So obviously we're here to talk about the gas line. We know the gas line needs to be installed. The Alliant informed us that they would not allow us to use multiple meters on that particular building. We tried many times. We tried to convince them of many times. They got hung up on the fact that we have electrical wire between the 2 buildings and the conduit connection. So that was their big hang up on why we couldn't do 1 meter, or multiple meters on a building or on a sector building, because technically those are separated. So then they came back and said we have to do 1, so that means that we need to provide a gas line to your other connections. So there is a gas line that needs to run around the new addition and run to the west and up and around to the wing for the technology wing, and then connect also with the gas line that's already in the ground for the science wing. Since we're removing your gas line that's on the other side of the building, right?
Yeah, the one
Yeah.
on the addition that's coming, or the building that's coming down, there's an existing gas meter there
That's coming out.
that's coming out. That serves those other 2 areas.
Yep.
And then there's also one that was on the rest of the building, a separate
Yes.
one on the rest of the building.
Yep.
So essentially there's 3 different locations that entrances of gas in the building. Well, technically 4 with the new one.
Right.
So that all has to go through one separate, one home meter on this building.
Before you had multiple as well on the building, on the same building, right, Joe?
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, you have multiple entrances. You have 2 meters on there currently, right? One for the main 3-story and 1 for the basement. And we have to use like 1 meter only as a requirement.
And the reason that was okay before, tell me if I'm understanding this correctly, is because they were separated, there was no, they kept calling it a path of continuity.
Correct.
That had, where the wires were running between the buildings.
Correct.
And now there will be that path of continuity between them.
Correct. Yep. That is why it changed, yes.
So we had talked through the costs. I know we've been kind of working towards cost, and the initial costing to us was $95,000 for that change. So I had asked Rochelle to work with Ferris to talk about, because there was a delay in the project to get this after the initial conversation with Alliant, to find out what it would have cost to run it from the beginning. As though we knew we were gonna do this from square one and just did it. And it worked out to be about, I think it was about a $15,000 cheaper cost had we done that right then and there. So we kind of talked about some cost sharing on this to try to help offset some for us, so we're not being irresponsible with the funds available to us. And I don't wanna like steal your thunder on that, you wanna talk a little bit towards that cost sharing piece, so both companies have offered to do some things to kind of help us with this.
Yep, so what we're here today to propose is that we would, obviously, initially, if this was included in the original project, our fee would have been on this, we're not gonna charge you guys a fee on that. So that would have been, around 7% or so, or 7%, so about $6,650 is what we can, we're not gonna charge you guys that, we're not adding any more fee to this. We're taking responsibility for that. And then Ferris has also offered to provide $11,350 for that, so a total of $18,000. Kind of if you add those two together. So off of that $95,000, we would take $11,350 off of that. That's making sense. But in total, with obviously we're not going to charge our fee either. That would equal that 18. If that's making sense. And that's in line, Mark, correct, with what we talked about?
Yeah, that's what we talked
Okay.
about this morning, yeah.
So 84,350.
Yep. So the reason why we feel like it could have if we would have resolved it more quickly, right? We wouldn't have had to bore the line, could have trenched the line, we wouldn't have had so many bends and turns in it. Now, we would have had to keep it outside the building pad and outside the building, so it still would have had to been a decent length. I think we talked about 800.
There's a little less length if we would, a little more length involved when we
Bore
bore
it.
it compared to
Yeah.
trenching it in, right? A little more
Yep.
cheaper to trench it in typically than to bore it in.
So that was why Ferris offered a compensation for that as well.
So I'll speak, usually I let everybody speak, I'll speak. So I've talked to Dave McCann about all of this and what it takes and the angles, and I just want to understand all this. So he and I had a conversation. And I've had a lot of thoughts about this, because basically this goes back a year from trying to get this resolved from Alliant and all that kind of stuff.
October, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I remember some things last summer, some conversations in the construction meetings. Whatever it was.
Yeah,
Here-
either
here-
way,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
either way.
And so I asked David, so what if we would have just done this greenfield? What would it
Right,
cost to put it
right.
in? Because I'm gonna go under the assumption that if we would have had this in the original drawings, that the by-state contract would have accounted for that.
Mhm.
And I'm just gonna go with that.
Mhm.
And looking at what Dave said, this is what, yeah, you could have trenched it, you could have done it for this, and what you guys are doing, I think the delta of what the district would have had to pay
Mhm.
and what we're having to pay now is a pretty small percentage of the project. And I will say this, one, I think that you guys, this is like the fourth project, if you look at Howard Price, the, Paul Johnson filled in this, you've done excellent work for us, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And you guys have done a lot of things for us too, and so I don't think it's worth burning the bridge of good relationships over the body of work that you guys have done. And I appreciate you coming forward and offering some compensation to us. That's how I personally feel. Now, with that, I'll say the only thing I don't like to do is that we're gonna have to pay for concrete twice.
We'll figure that out.
Okay.
'Cause that I didn't see that in there, so I'll double check. and
Well,
see.
David Kent said he's got some money in there for concrete.
Oh, okay, I'll double check his number. I'll go.
Yeah, because if this would have been decided a long time ago, we would, so the only thing that I would say is I don't want to pay for concrete.
Let me look at that number and I'll get
Okay.
back to you, Kevin, on
Okay.
that, okay?
But other than that, I think you guys have done enough good work over time, and I think you've helped us a lot. I think you guys have done some consulting for us on the Lakeview thing that you guys didn't do, that I don't wanna, I think the relationship is worth the, whatever small little, if we wanna get nasty about it, I don't think it's worth getting nasty about it. You guys have done a good job over time. That's how I feel.
Kevin, I appreciate that. We obviously appreciate our relationship with the district, so.
So,
I could definitely speak to that, consulting on projects that aren't even current projects with both companies. I mean, you guys will really step forward for us to help us out with things.
yeah. That's how I feel. I don't know how everybody else feels.
I would echo the same. I haven't been on the board as part of the other project, but we've talked in the past, and yeah, minimal difference, and it's part of the process, unfortunately.
Motion to approve change order number 7.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve change order number 7. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
So we'll have the original, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I appreciate the two of you coming down tonight.
No, thank you, we appreciate the opportunity to talk to the board and,
Yeah.
and work with you, so thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Hey, want to get a keeper?
Yes, I got it
All
for you
right.
guys,
Where did you
because,
find it?
well, I found it over in the parking lot that's gonna be there.
Oh,
There's a
okay.
ton of them, Kevin's found this big one that has like.
Yeah, they've been
different-
excavating
Oh, that's
over there.
Kevin
Oh, okay.
Bishop, yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
not, but yes, you can
Very
take
good,
that.
very good.
You can just select a few more.
All the things we've unearthed.
They did take down the sign today too, so,
And it did,
cross your
it
fingers.
did come down in the number of pieces it was supposed to come down.
Yes, it did. There's
Well, I
a-
thought it
there's
was
a blue
strapped up,
curve.
and I thought, I'm just gonna keep driving. It's not time to look at it.
I didn't watch it either, I just
Yeah.
kind of, I had to, I just didn't want to, so, but thank you, appreciate you guys.
You're
Thank
talking
you.
about that header?
Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
boy, okay.
it's down,
It is.
it's down, so, thank you.
Thanks.
Anything else for us today?
No.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thank
You guys,
very
I
much.
appreciate it.
Okay, setting dates for the board retreat, I guess we had some,
So I have 2 dates that I got from Trent, that we can still fit in with him to see if it works for us. July 12th or July 22nd are 2 dates that he has available.
12 works better for me. I could probably make things work.
The 12th is
Doesn't,
not.
I thought I had somebody
Yeah,
that couldn't
vacation.
do the 12th.
Yep, we'll be out of town on this one.
And I'm sorry that the dates are so limited, I just know they got really booked up for the summer and
I mean, I could make 22nd work, so,
You said 22nd or 7th?
22nd,
2/2,
2/2, yeah.
Monday.
There's a good chance I won't be back then.
Now, what I could do then is go to a different company potentially to book a retreat. Because by the time we get into August, it's back to school stuff. I mean, we got the SAI conference and gets real tight. I just think they got very booked up this summer
Yeah, well, that's good.
with gigs.
Do we want to see what Tammy could do?
Yeah, that would work. Would the 15th work for people if Tammy could do something of July?
15th, I'm out of town.
You're out of town.
Basically out of
If
town.
he's from 12 to 22, he's gonna be out
Oh,
of town.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah, 12 to 22, I'm gone.
I'll be gone as well.
Okay, how about? I already have a meeting on the 8th.
So Tim and Derek, since you guys have probably more work constraints than the rest of us, are there days that work better for you guys?
Not really, this far out, I mean, it's pretty easy to schedule, at least on my end.
How about you, Tim?
Be better probably not to be a Wednesday.
Okay.
I'm more flexible Tuesdays and Thursdays.
So what if we check with them and see their availability and email the group? Try to do
Okay.
a sign up there.
Okay.
Sorry about that, everybody.
That's okay. Okay, we'll keep working on it.
Okay. You need a motion to table that?
Okay. We'll just keep doing old business. Okay, new business, approve participation in the Jester Break Fix Insurance Program.
Okay, let's see what all we put in the packet for you here on this. So this is a program, it's an insurance product for us to be able to make repairs on our equipment that we've got. Most importantly for us, as we've looked at this, is the HVAC equipment, which I know you've probably heard or seen that we've had a lot of work through with the Lakeview HVAC system ever since it's been in place. So there is, trying to find the right page, in your board packet is on page somewhere after they talk forever about things in this thing.
Is it page 29, is that what
Is that the list of what all can fix?
27.
page 27, there's a list of all of the different things that are covered. So, just for example, so auditorium equipment, lighting, audio boards, microphones, speakers. If we make a repair, what happens is we pay for the repair and then we send the invoice to Jester and they will reimburse us for the repair as part of the insurance. So we pay them a premium each year, and if we would surpass that premium in claims, they may have to make adjustments they would have to make an adjustment for the next year what our premium would be. So, and of course, their goal is that they'll have a little bit of it in it, and we'll claim a little bit less than we pay on the premium. You pay for the premium, obviously, out of the management fund, for an insurance product like this, and the reimbursement comes in via couple or general, so, it's about, saving some of those more restricted funds, and using some of the less restricted funds, for the insurance.
So looking through this, I think some of our biggest expense have like been refrigerant at
Yeah.
Lakeview.
HVAC entirely, I mean, compressors, I mean, at least yearly, we have to replace at least one compressor at Lakeview. I mean, I can almost guarantee it.
Because the refrigerant's not included, that's an exclusion.
No, yeah, there's, a lot of the times, most of the compressors we have replaced at Lakeview so far have been under warranty. Now that warranty, I think this year comes up,
Okay.
so it would no longer be using the warranty, but the refrigerant is always an extra added cost.
Okay, so that's not a change. Okay, because it's excluded, because I thought sometimes we're paying thousands of dollars for Freon.
Yes, that's very expensive. I mean, just alone in HVAC repairs, this would pay for itself. This would a lot more money in the Pepple.
Okay.
Just like currently I have like you guys have already approved, just a $15,000 charge to replace 2 of the compressors in the chiller at the high school. I mean, that alone saves a lot of money. I mean, we spend a lot on HVAC repairs every year.
So what is the lot?
I don't have an exact number for you.
We got a round number? Is it 109,000?
Probably pretty close to that. I mean, it's kind of the way I set aside, Kevin mentioned when I presented my summer projects, I only spent about 200,000 of it to save the other 200,000 for HVAC repairs for things that come up, things like that. Because I can almost guarantee we're gonna have probably around $100,000 a year in repairs like that.
So this is kind of like the natural gas contract insurance program is what it is.
Almost exactly that model.
But if we go over the 109
Then our
The premiums will be
higher
adjusted
than
for next year.
yeah,
for next year,
Yeah,
so we wind up paying it one way or the other.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in
Yeah.
I'm skeptical, but willing to try it for a year, see how it goes.
Well,
This,
the thing of it is, these guys don't do this to lose money.
right,
No,
right.
And no one has been here to review our facilities, right?
They've reviewed a lot of our contracts is what they've done, so
Yeah.
it's mostly on paper that they're reviewing things. Yeah,
So
yeah. Mm,
I would be skeptical of someone who didn't at least come look at our facility to see what kind of condition it's in. It's pretty easy to look at the paperwork,
Yeah,
but that's a bean counter figuring
well,
out.
it's an insurance, they're doing, I almost said arbitrage, but that would be the wrong thing. They're doing actuary reviews.
Yeah,
What they're
yeah,
doing.
that's what they're doing.
and
They're
it,
not doing arbitrage.
it came out not, I think it was just a little bit before the natural gas thing that the break fix started. And it's that same concept, and so this is another one that Larry Sigel recommends, because it pushes things off of general fund onto the management fund, and it allows you to have quote unquote some control over your costs in a year, but you know, like you said, if it's gonna fluctuate year to year, it's not exactly control. It's about freeing up unreserved funds versus reserved funds it's moving it to the right place, so that you're able to use the pot of money that you've got for what you need. It's,
Because right now, a lot of these repairs, like say some of these HVAC repairs, that just has to come out of general fund essentially.
Correct.
Majority, a lot of it comes out of PEPAL as well, and Mark, would this, tell me if I'm wrong, would this save money in the PEPAL fund as well?
yeah,
So this would allot me to do more summer projects and put more of the money in front of the community's eyes.
that would probably be the biggest gain out of this, is in the PEPAL, not so much in the
Not-
general. Okay.
Instead of saving back $200,000 for an insurance policy for HVAC, I could spend 300 and only save 100 for other repairs that this insurance doesn't cover. I could spend roughly an extra $150,000
On our actual,
on actual building projects.
that's the way I was reading it. I mean, I took some
Yeah.
time this afternoon and did do some Googling.
We did do two things. We did initially make we are recommending to cut two parts of the product that they offer. One is to cover like your Chromebooks and laptops and things of that nature. The cost was gonna be quite a bit higher to add all those on, and because Chromebooks are generally such a cheap product, the repair parts to do that, and Cameron's time, it really doesn't add up to do those repairs on that. And then the other was, the copiers, and because we have our copier lease agreement and our repair agreement, we kind of felt like, for now, we didn't really wanna jump into that realm, because that feels a little, that could get dicey a little bit. We
So
wanted to
those-
go with something that was a little more secure, where there was, I think there's, what did he say, 120 some districts signed on for this style of product, so,
So Chromebooks are not in this quote.
correct, yes.
I see someone took out walk-in coolers and freezers. That's not included.
Yeah,
We don't generally spend,
but we
Too
we
much
may
money.
have in the future,
yes.
because we have our new ones.
Which should be under warranty for a while.
We didn't want to go all the way.
Yeah, it's like we were trying to dip our toe in a little more, but, it's a big toe dip, I think it's a whole foot probably, but, we could go further with that if we wanted to. And we could go back to them and ask to go further if that's the direction from the board too.
I guess I look at the list and I see lots of things that we probably don't spend money on.
I think it's the big one is the HVAC, and my
Yeah.
only question is, and I didn't know if, on the warranty and the light fees, I just know the refrigerant, or the Freon is pretty expensive.
Yeah. And we're pretty much out of the woodworks for any warranties at Lakeview now. We're past the years on those.
I know, and this sounds wrong to say about a product like this, but in Burlington, when they took this on, they made a lot of money on doing this. Now, I will tell you, they did jump in full force with the Chromebooks, and they have a large technology crew, and they do a lot of repairs on their Chromebooks and buy parts cheap, used here and there and everything. But it did really well for them.
I mean, odds are this is still pretty close to the number that we're spending annually on repairs. It just allows us to, as Aaron said, better use PEPAL funds for things that we actually need instead of general maintenance repairs. So it's not like we're really spending a brand new $109,000.
We're just shifting it.
Right.
How long before the state figures this out?
Well, it's been going for a while.
I think I read in there, it's like been going on for like 20 or 30 years.
Does it?
Yeah.
I think, and that's not to say that that'll never be a thing that gets reviewed, because it could be that the natural gas thing gets reviewed at some point too, and they decide they don't like it.
I mean, I look at the letters of reference that came to me, you had big schools, small schools in there. You don't know what you don't know.
If we're spending about $100,000 a year anyway, you know, if I knew that, I'd feel a lot more comfortable. But I haven't heard the number yet.
Okay.
I think Lisa should be able to come up with that. after some research,
Yeah,
you know, what are we spending? You know?
find out on that.
And I know it's, I know from a school board standpoint, you're moving money from one fund to the other, and you're allowing to do this, but it's still taxpayer money.
Yep.
And that's the only,
So maybe, can we table this until we can get 2 years average on repairs? So we
I
have.
think that would be,
Make a
I
better,
feel comfortable with that.
more informed decision.
Yeah, we could do that for the July meeting.
That'd be all right.
I agree.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Good discussion. Gives Mr. Taylor more old business.
You know I like my own business.
I know you do.
So you need a motion to table this?
I think the chair can rule it be tabled. Is that okay, Mr. Parliamentarian?
I'm not sure.
Oh.
Then we're gonna make it so.
Sean Hardware.
Okay, item B, approve FY '24 teacher salary supplemental program per the numbers that were in your board packet. That's paying out the,
The remaining.
The remaining 5%.
Yep.
We have to take that.
Motion to approve teacher supplement program.
Second.
motion and second to approve the teacher supplemental payment program. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you very much. It's approved. Item C, approval of the memorandum of understanding with River Hills for behavioral health services.
Now, you may have remembered this, I believe we did the exact same thing last year. Unfortunately, they weren't able to find a provider, and they found a provider now, so they brought it back out to the few districts they were gonna work with, us being one of them. The only thing we have to provide is a place to be. And we've got a spot for them, and we're ready to go, and, my hope would be that this would be another tool we can use to help our kids out. I mean, those social, emotional, behavioral needs that we've got, for some students in district. Just trying to hit as many as possible.
Any questions on it?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Motion and a second to approve the memorandum of understanding with River Hills. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Thank you. All right, approval to revision to board policy for rentals.
So Aaron and I are requesting that we consider allowing the rental of Lakeview Gymnasium for some major events. There are some items that have used Lakeview Gym in the past, one of which being a tumbling competition that brings in tumbling teams from outside of town to Centerville. I don't know if there's a ton of income for our businesses, but probably some. People maybe stop at Joe's and get the famous corn nuggets that I advertise every time I can. So we think that it really is about the only place that's appropriate for some of those activities. We were gonna suggest $250 as a rental for that space for that. And just the ability to use it only for those major events that bring in out-of-towners. And have events that would include our kids as well. Not like a birthday party, not a graduation party, I just wanna get together and shoot some hoops with my buddies there. But like, we have a competition there. I think there's a dance competition maybe there too. Am I thinking right, Aaron? So a dance competition and a gymnastics tumbling competition. Actually, we came over from Burlington one time for that tumbling competition. I think Cherise hosted that. So just kind of a good thing to be able to show off our awesome facilities to people. We think that would make sense.
So in the past, has that just been no charge? I mean, does that?
I assume they must have paid whatever rental fee was in place then.
No, it's been a charge in the past. On the top of my head, the gym rental fee was, I think, $30 a day. This would significantly bring the cost up, which would get rid of some of the nuisance rentals. By bringing this cost up, the district would make more money, but then only the people that can really afford those rentals would be.
Carol, when we reviewed the policy last year, we took this out
Yeah.
because there were some things that were probably not appropriate, and for the little fee that we had, it did pay the janitorial staff to come in and take care of things.
Right, 40 cents.
And moving forward, since I've taken over the building rentals, the rental agreements and everything like that, I've kind of mandated anything, we charge a custodial fee on every rental. How I do it is anything 4 hours and under is a 1 hour custodial fee. Anything over that is a 2 hour custodial fee per day.
We just think that these are the kind of events that they may not be able to host in town without a space like that, so it'd be nice to have a spot available. And again, it's bringing people in from outside. You never know when, one time getting to see our facilities, maybe that sparks somebody into thinking, that's kind of a pretty cool place. And maybe we'll get a key out of that someday.
So, I mean, I don't want to question your strategy there, but in all the event, you get a 2 hour custodial fee?
Well, it's not necessarily, it's 2 hours of compensating the district for cleaning up after them. I mean, if you would recommend that I up the hours on that, I can definitely do that.
I would, just from a facility standpoint, it would seem like you would want to have a janitor on staff for the entire event.
Well, and those hours aren't necessarily, we don't have a janitorial staff there. This is the cleanup after the event or the next day, recompensating the district for that extra time.
Yeah.
Instead of, because of that employee could be using that time for something else.
I see what Mike's saying, though. I think maybe in the case of Lakeview Gym, you're saying, because we've got pretty
We have
big
lots of
expenses
restrooms
in
there.
that floor, we've got restrooms. Maybe in the case of Lakeview Gym, you'd have to pay for a custodian to be there for your event, for the entirety of your event.
yeah.
So maybe we lower the actual rental cost, but charge for the custodial support. Because I think $250 plus custodial support probably is a little cost prohibitive for the dance and gymnastics thing. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, I've never run one of
What's
those.
your janitorial fee?
$22.50 an hour, which is in a situation like that would be, I think is what is the standard for a custodian at time and a half. Because anything additional they would do would be overtime. And if you're talking, and if that's what you're wanting, I think I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
On Lakeview events moving forward, you would like a custodian actually to be there for the entire time of the event,
That
correct?
makes sense.
Well, it just seems like we ought to have someone there.
Yeah.
Well, you have somebody there.
Multi-million-dollar facility.
I think we probably,
Pizza.
want that, a full-on custodian to keep it clean, that's a good idea. And not
Well,
just
there's
somebody there.
things, cleaning bathrooms, restocking the toilet paper, and answering questions.
Keeping
So
it
are
running.
you thinking this rental fee in addition to the custodial fee?
Well,
Or
I
you
hadn't
think it would-
really processed the custodial fee there, to be honest with you. And I think if you look at 2250 times an 8 hour day, then you're talking 180 there. So what if we did 150 for the rental fee and 180 custodial fee for an 8 hour day? That starts to feel like it covers at least our costs. It probably doesn't cover anything beyond that, but it does allow these major things to still happen in our district.
So you're gonna have to write that wording up and let's do a formal policy approval.
We could do it that way, yeah.
Or do you just want to,
We just want the ability to rent Lakeview Gym for those
'Cause I
couple
think-
major events.
because the way I see it, is you just want to put a price into the rental, but we don't have, in that policy, I don't think we have anywhere for custodial, so
Right.
that's
So
a,
right now, we've got it listed as not available, but if we know that it is available for major items like that, and just know what the board would like us to charge for that, I feel like we could work to modify that in policy moving forward too. But just to give us some guidance, because I know those groups are looking to book as soon as they can for next year.
I think the monies will be pretty close either way, so. yeah.
I would be upfront with them that here's the rental fee and there was a janitor, will be available for the entire time.
And I think that's a good message to send, that part of this fee is for, not just like we're making a big profit.
Right, that's,
Yeah,
Transparency.
Yes.
yeah.
So there we go to the 150 plus janitor.
I think so, I think that.
Yeah, it's not a big moneymaker, it's more provide a service to the community that the taxpayers don't have to fund.
Right.
It belongs to the community, let's not forget.
But also the community shouldn't have to pay the janitorial wages for some private company to come in and have an event. So I think they have to be compensated for janitorial services.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so everybody go to the 150 plus janitor.
And the janitor services would be mandatory. You wouldn't want somebody coming in and go, oh, we'll clean up.
Yeah,
No,
because that never works.
No.
Never works.
Not a chance.
I think that's very reasonable.
All right, can we have a motion to that effect?
I make a motion that we set our fee at $150 plus janitorial costs.
Thank you.
We have a motion, do we have a second? Do we have a second? We have a motion, a second, to revise the board policy for rentals. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you. Approve the special ed delivery plan.
Okay, so you had, this had been presented, was that 2 meetings ago we presented that, Julie, or was that the last one?
Yeah.
So it just had to be out for public comment, for 20 days. We received no public comments. It is, being looked at the AJ as well, because they are the, compliance piece of it. But everything should be good to go, so if you approve it, we won't approve anything else for 5 years. If we wanna change something at any time, we can, it just has to go through that process again. But there was no changes made from the last time you saw it.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion, second, to approve the special education delivery plan. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Item F, approval of the Centerville High School closed lunch.
Okay, so this is an item that's come up a few times in our discussions on school safety, and I just wanted to take the time with the board to talk through this and let the board kind of work through where we are and where we'd like to be. So, I think everybody's probably familiar with closed versus open lunch, but essentially, a closed lunch means that everybody remains in the building for lunch. An open lunch means that people are allowed to leave the building during the lunch period to go pick up a lunch somewhere else and then come back. When we did our safety walkthrough, or when I did a safety walkthrough with Officer Demery and Officer Moore this spring, shortly after we had those couple threats that came through and were kind of big, open lunch was the biggest topic that we talked about, because you have with the number, so our policy was that it was closed lunch for freshmen and sophomores, open lunch for juniors and seniors, but what we've gotten to is where many parents will actually fill out what's called a pink pass for their freshmen and sophomores to be able to leave for lunch. So we were having large numbers of freshmen and sophomores leaving for lunch as well. There was an attempt to kind of back down on pink passes at one point during that time, but people continued to fill those out and say, well, my kid gets to go to lunch every day. So I guess the way I view it, we have a few options. The reason it was a safety concern, was because you don't really know who's coming and going, and you have all that exchange around lunchtime. And if somebody wanted to do something bad, that's a time where it's very easy to come and go. And that's a concern there. The absolute safest option obviously would be a fully closed lunch for all students 9 through 12. This is currently the model that's followed by Davis County High School, a number of the smaller high schools in the area, and I want to say maybe Sheraton was that way. I kind of texted around with the area superintendents to find out who was doing what. A slightly less extreme option that's probably still very safe would be seniors in good standing could have open lunch. Because then you're talking about a smaller number of students who are leaving, so the administrative staff have a little bit easier time tracking who's coming and going, watching the door. We've got a nice new man trap in that new building, I think that will help with that, and monitoring external doors that people might come in. You could go with our current policy and work on tighter enforcement of pink passes this year. My proposal would be, if we maintain our current policy of freshmen and sophomores closed, that we would not allow pink passes for any freshman or sophomore, from the period before lunch to the period after lunch without a parent picking the child up. Because generally, you know, if you're leaving at the lunchtime, you're probably leaving for lunch. We do have a number of students who miss advisory because of open lunch now. Hey, Chris, attendance is not taken at advisory, so I can't give you an exact number of the number of students, but that was a pretty common concern from teachers that had shared with me that they were missing kids from advisory because they were just taking an extra long lunch.
So, since you said you're not taking attendance, is there any ballpark number of the absenteeism after lunch?
It would probably depend on how nice of a day it was.
Okay.
To be honest with you, on a nicer day, a significantly higher number.
Do they just not come back from one period, or do they just not come back for a day?
We had some who would skip the period after as well. Or if we were lucky, maybe come back with lunch in hand and eat it in the class period after.
So they leave at lunch for a couple hours and then come back still
with
wanting to
lunch
eat lunch in the classroom?
Yeah, and I'm proposing that we have a policy, actually not proposing, I've talked to Jenny about our policy in our new building that there will be no food and drink in the classroom except for special dispensation with the teacher, because I don't think we need somebody bringing the Hardee's back and smashing a fry into the carpet.
Thank
in the
you.
new classroom wing. You bet, friend. I care. So, you know, we've got a variety of options we could go with. And I think there's pros and cons to each of them. You know, obviously, I was teaching here for a handful of years before the last time open versus closed lunch came up as a topic, and there was a lot of passion around that topic at the board table and from community members as to which way to go. I think it can't be completely ignored, the safety concern of having large numbers of students leaving and coming back. And I think we at the very least have to get control of the pink pass issue. And have if we could go forward with our new administrative team having the backing of the board saying, no, you're not gonna give pink passes during that time. If you want your kid to leave for lunch, you're gonna have to come and pick them up if they're a freshman and sophomore. I really think that could be helpful, even in and of itself there. It's one of those where I think as we are looking to continue to raise standards, that's a standard that probably will be one that we need to raise. I could really work with any one of those options, but we just are kind of looking for guidance from this team to kind of share your thoughts with us and tell us which way you'd like us to go with it. I've talked to Jenny about it. She's coming from a closed lunch world over there at Davis County. Albion is, I think it's open for juniors and seniors in good standing is what Richard had told me. So we're kind of surrounded by a few different options there. We probably have the best lunch options of all the small schools in the area. You know, you'd have to get to Ottumwa to get much better lunch options for a kid to leave for than we have here. Again, you could always go get corn nuggets, and that's always a good solution if you're a person who's leaving for lunch.
So, I guess I'm hearing two reasons to up the standards.
Mm-hmm.
One is safety, two is attendance and after lunch.
Yeah.
What do we have for seniors that are doing maybe Indian Hills things? Is there quite a few of those?
Yeah, we do quite a few, like with the nursing program, and as we bring on the other programs that are getting expanded with the new campus out there, we're still gonna have some amount of people transitioning at lunchtime, because a lot of times it's you're gone for the morning for your program or you're gone for the afternoon for your program. So there's still going to be some amount of transition there. I think what this issue really comes down to, the smaller the volume of students transitioning in and out during that time, the smaller the safety risk, because you're able to monitor that transition a little bit better. So if it's 400 students potentially transitioning, that's a lot tougher, and that wouldn't be a fair number. If it's 300 students transitioning, it's probably a little tougher than if it's 90 or 110 students.
And will they come in and out the new main door?
That would be the plan there.
So that's the only place they can get buzzed back in.
Right, so what really happens with the transition on that, to manage that, is you have to man some of those other doors we have to control some of those other doors to make sure it's not, don't worry about it, I'm gonna let you in, you're gonna be just fine, come in the back door, I got you covered. So like you have to buzz in through the office that way. So that's where it becomes kind of a management issue of making sure you have enough manpower on your administrative staff and your supervisory staff to deal with that. There are also concerns, I have talked to colleagues around the state that they've been told potentially if a freshman and sophomore were to, if you have closed freshman and sophomore lunch and you didn't enforce that, like I'm suggesting we do on pink passes, you could be liable if one of them would get into a wreck. Why was that student allowed to be off campus during that time? You know, we would probably argue while their parents send them out for it, but that is something that they have heard as they've explored what they should do in their districts.
Are there any test cases that have?
I don't
Or is
know.
it anecdotal?
It's probably more just what they were told by people and passing it on.
So are you more inclined to do 100% closed or allow seniors with good standing?
I think there is something to be said for the good standing piece, because I think it gives somebody something to look forward to, which is kind of nice, and it is manageable. It's how we can avoid being a, you know, I hate to say, avoid basically being a jail and be an opportunity, a place where you have an opportunity to earn some privileges. If I were to be completely paranoid, completely closed would be amazing, but I think that there's definitely, there has to be a limit to how much that we let the bad guys win, you know, and if we can give our kids a little bit of freedom, when you get to your senior year, you keep.
When you say bad guys, you mean kids with behavior issues?
No, I mean the people that have caused school safety issues.
Oh, okay, I was trying to figure out what.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, I mean, because honestly, well, that's what we always have our eye on when we make a decision, right, is this gonna set us up for problems for safety? And I think, what I'm getting from our walkthrough is that our current model is a safety concern, so we definitely need to make some change to it. I don't know if we have to go completely scorched earth and close the whole thing down, because I think giving them a more manageable chunk to monitor coming in and out probably makes a real dent in it for us. And seniors in good standing, you're probably looking at 90, 95 people, and by the time you knock off those that were already transitioning, because of Indian Hills, it's probably only 50 more than you needed anyway, or 60 more than you would have had anyway. So it's a little more manageable.
And you go back to the liability issue, it doesn't matter what decision we make tonight, it's not gonna please everybody, and that's part of the job. I 100% promise you that the most vocal person that would be against any change would be the first one that would have our names first on a lawsuit if something happened to their students or somebody else out in the community. So that's something to definitely think about, and it is a risk, letting, you know, especially freshmen, sophomores. You know, most of them just got their license, or you know, mine, he won't even have his license on his permit as a freshman.
And technically, those school permits, and this is something that we're really trying to watch for, you shouldn't be driving to.
It's
you know,
to school,
McDonald's.
to home, that's
Right,
it.
there shouldn't be any driving on your lunch to go pick a lunch up with that, it's not legal with that. And while I haven't caught it personally, because if I catch it, I will turn it in, then I'm required by law to do so, and somebody will lose a school permit if I catch them doing that. I would venture to guess that we probably have some that have skirted that after being pink passed out. Not Catherine Taylor, I'll tell you that much. Life 360 watched very closely.
You know, safety's my baby, it's my passion. So I definitely think, you know, support that aspect of it. I hate to see us, I like the second option, but I'm wondering if we could expand that to juniors. I know
So
that's
that'd be-
more people.
That'd be similar to where we're at, and it'd be the same as what Albia's policy is, so it could be worth it. It tightens it down a little bit from where we are now, especially if we can enforce the pink pass part.
And that's another comment I was going to make, we have to have somebody willing to be tough on pink passes.
Yeah.
I agree, it's, you know, the stories I've heard from, you know, my daughter was in high school 8 years ago, but now I'm hearing all these stories. Oh, what do you mean you weren't in band? Because, you know, band was right in the middle of lunch or vice versa, and, you know, you were running around for a 2-hour lunch and you should have been in band.
Yeah, and that's a big deal, and I think, don't get me wrong, we will probably get a lot of people who are upset about
Oh,
that, if we do them, which I would really like to get at least the enforcement of pink passes on it tonight. But I think it's the right thing to do.
So what about this? What if we, just a thought, throwing it out there, for first semester, keep it junior, seniors. No pink passing for the freshmen, sophomores, unless the parents pick them up. And then we evaluate that first meeting after semester. I mean, at that point, if we gotta lock it down, nobody goes, and we can put it back to seniors.
Or I'd like to see pink pass enforcements on the whole student body. I mean,
Well, yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I'm not sure of a mid-year. I'd have to think about that one. I'm kind of in the senior privilege if we want to do some. But I think though, if we want to make a safety change, then we've got to affect the most amount of people. We have to reduce the in and out as much as possible. If that's the intent.
And that would be everyone.
Yeah, I'm a little bit lenient on the senior, little senior privilege, because as we're trying to prepare them to contribute positively to society, they're going to transition to college where they don't have to have. I could kind of see that as we're preparing you to launch to college and places. But I think if we're going to make a change, it's got to be, I agree, the pink pass policy is probably, but that's an administrative choice to do.
It is,
It's
well,
not a board policy, is it?
no.
You just want to be back.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, because I will tell you, at the end of the year, we fought some pink pass fights. And I want my kid pink passed out of second and third period, because I just don't want him to go there. Well, sorry, we don't do that. Well, I'm going to do that, my kid won't be there. So knowing that we have backing to go ahead and count that as a truancy, and that the board is behind our expectations that students attend school, regardless of if that's what everybody in that child's life wants. We're here to have a standard for kids.
And to me, it's the student achievement piece of the board priorities that we set. It's culture and student achievement. And if we're having a high absentee rate around lunch, then that's where I lean into, it has to be in good standing. My preference, I hear what you're saying, my preference is to limit the senior in order to try and keep down that, the absenteeism.
You
And I'll
know,
feel like I gotta win as long as I get to enforce pink passes properly coming out of the night, whatever you decide.
the thing is, the school is not like Walmart where you get to pick and choose what you want.
Right.
Okay? It's an all or nothing, Truancy is truancy. And the other thing is, maybe you want your kid out, but it's a safety issue. It's not about safety. It's not about your kid getting out. It's about us keeping everybody else safe. Okay? So your desire is not our safety plan.
good point.
It's our best way to keep our kids, all the kids, safe. And if they don't like it, they can come see us. We meet twice a month.
Okay, I haven't said anything. I see there being some pushback on this, but if it's truly about safety and me not going to school here I was surprised that people ran around at lunch anyways, like they do. I was surprised by that. And I mean, that was 15 years ago. I was like, what?
No, I came from a closed campus, I never heard of it, by the time we got there.
I mean, I see problems with that, not even worrying about the safety issues. I know that's probably not popular, but that was new to me. And they are still kids, and we just want to go run around in their cars at lunch. To me, maybe that is, they're learning, but that was foreign to me. But if it's truly about safety and controlling who's in and out of the building, that's what we have.
You could go, you kind of go in between, you could say, seniors could be lead campus second semester. You don't have to make it all year.
So far, I've heard 5 different preferences. We all have our own little spin on it, so if we're gonna do something, we probably need to come to some consensus on it. So, are we all in agreement that as a board, we're gonna support the superintendent's desire to have a tighter enforcement around pink passes? Is there any,
No question.
okay,
Absolutely.
all right.
Thank you. That's the biggest one I got tonight for
So
for
let's,
high school.
so let's separate this issue down, because we got so many different things, so that one's there. So is there a general desire on the board to close some or at least some or all of the remaining 2 grades for closed lunch?
The remaining 2.
Well, okay, I did
Which
not,
two?
I did
So
not,
freshman and
I didn't
sophomore
say
are
that, freshman, sophomore, not, so we're talking about juniors and seniors.
Yes.
So is there a general desire to put some sort of closed campus in that group?
Here's what
I don't know if I'm saying what I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
you're saying it right. The thing is, as an administrator in the building, how do I know you're a student in good standing?
That's fair.
How do I know you get to go, and how do I know you don't get to go? It's a nightmare. It's like sorting cattle, okay? You've already got enough people in and out of the building as it is.
I see what you're saying, but I really feel like most people know.
Well, I don't know if they know. I mean, what are our administrators doing for 2 hours, you know? Is that what you want them to do? Sit there and sort heads? Or do you want them doing something?
I think it becomes kind of an after the fact thing. I mean, what probably happens is somebody who's not in good standing or shouldn't have been gone has left. And then somebody says, where is so-and-so? Well, they're not here, so we're going to have to mark them absent and this will be truancy on them. So it's probably more from a paperwork standpoint at that point, that it really does anything, to be honest.
And there's been a system, I mean, long lunch has been established as part of being a positive incentive for some kids and things, and so there was a system for sorting and knowing, and kids got emails, and then they were expected to do some things. So I think there is a system available and has been used to do some of those things.
Well, I would propose closed lunch, freshmen, sophomore, juniors. Seniors, open lunch with good standing.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Let's start with that. You can always fall back.
How do you feel about, like grandfathering in the juniors?
This
for
year's
year?
juniors who have been.
Because here they've gone, I mean, I'm not saying that's the most important thing, but it's an idea.
I get what you're saying. I mean, technically, they shouldn't have been on open lunch this year, because they were sophomores who should have had closed lunch. I will tell you, there are a number of them who had pink passes for the whole year, written by parents, where they were out on an open lunch, for that.
And just don't,
So that, the pink patch just is a standing.
It has been, and that's where I really was looking to tighten that one.
I think
It's
if- I
the
think
way
if-
we've always done it.
I think if you're gonna have that, it should be done for that day, so the parent knows that child, where they are. Not that, well, maybe
So
they're
we-
there today, maybe they're not.
That was part of our enforcement that we tried later in the year as we were kind of working on some things there. And what we got was a lot of, well, that's fine, but I'm telling you right now, my kid won't be there any day during that time.
you know,
So this is his pink pass.
I don't know when that
Um,
was.
just, it's truancy,
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay, and we have to turn your name in to
Yeah.
the,
and that has a little more teeth now with the law, the new law that passed, so it'll go a little further.
You know, and sometimes the answer's no.
Right, unfortunately, no is a very combative answer for some people.
it's okay.
And we're working to help work with people to help their kids on that kind of thing. And I'm not talking majority of people, we're talking a small percentage of people that get kind of belligerent sometimes.
That's what they pay you the money for.
That's what we're here for.
That's it.
Yep. And I think, Jenny's ready for that. She's been a high school principal for a number of years, so she's prepped to handle some of those things when those come in, so I think we'll be in good shape.
We just need to give her the tools to make it work.
Yeah.
That's what we're about.
What about I'm just trying to wonder if there is a piece of compromise. What about second semester juniors in good standing?
Why don't we talk about that later?
Second
See how it
semester,
goes.
yeah. Track some numbers,
They might swallow this. Who knows?
yeah, yeah.
So how would you present that? What would you?
We,
For, like second semester, we could, well, I think what might be wise is a review from our new principal around Christmas time maybe, of how did closing down lunch go? What are your challenges with that? What have you seen? Obviously, she wouldn't have seen it the other way in any recent year, but you know, what are you seeing with attendance right after lunch? What are you seeing with pink passes? Is that kind of getting under control? Maybe kind of get a little feedback on how this conversation improved, made things good for us, hopefully.
So I go back to think when my kids were in school. And when the change happened, that freshman, sophomore was post lunch. I had some kids that were caught up in that, whoa, and got a lot of that. Now, honestly, all of my kids would go down to the lunchroom, get their lunch, and go eat in the band room. Because the lunchroom was gross.
Well, yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of people that would pink pass out, would take the open lunch because we had a really, really, really loud lunchroom. We're not gonna have that anymore.
It's beautiful.
So I think that's the reason to have an open lunch in the past. Part of that was due to the facilities. And I wouldn't want to eat down there every day either.
Yeah.
I think we have a totally new environment now. I do think about the whole safety piece, and I do err on the side of wanting to limit the number in and out of the building. That's where I'm coming. So we have a much better food situation, much better dining experience, and limiting the number of in and outs. And I think, you know, trying to look at our mission of contributing positively to society and to give seniors some senior privilege of getting in and out, I think is a nice blend of all of that.
I think we have to start somewhere, you know, and just because we make a decision doesn't mean that we can't revisit it and get all the new information. I mean, we're kind of guessing. So I think starting somewhere is.
And we'll have a new team and a new set of challenges. Every team has their own challenges, right? So we'll have a new team in there and we'll have to see what the challenges are for this new team and what things that are kind of the catches from. This gives us a place to start though.
Yeah.
would it be appropriate to invite the new principal in, say July, and just
Oh, yeah.
share some, you know,
Yeah,
see what,
I'm real excited to get her in here and the new AD too. That'll be real
for
positive.
good things.
Can't wait.
Doesn't back up, that's what I heard.
Thank you. Yeah, that works.
So, did we come to any conclusions?
At this point, we need a motion, so.
I would make a motion that we close down lunch for freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. And open lunch for seniors in good standing.
Okay, we have a motion.
Can we answer that? Can I
How so?
answer it?
How so, go ahead.
Well, with knowing that we will revisit that semester or something like that. Or get input from, be updated.
I think, is that something you want to add to the motion?
Sure.
Okay.
We can revisit it at any time, but it's good, yeah, with review, it's.
Okay. I don't always know Robert's Rules of Order and that kind of thing, so.
I think I would like, before we, to talk to, the new principal about it, have some conversation.
I think we're straying, in my opinion, we're straying away from the mission of safety at this point if we want to add the juniors back into it.
So,
And we gotta be cautious when we're talking school safety. Safest way is closed campus. And I also agree with allowing the seniors to do that. But if we can't sit here and count safety,
okay.
if we're still gonna allow people out.
So let me do this. We have a motion on the table, so procedurally, we need to either have a second or it dies from a lack of a second. If we do get a second, we can continue to discuss and focus on the specific motion at that point. That's kind of how this is supposed to work.
Yep.
we have a motion on the table. Okay, so without a second, the motion just dies.
It's just done.
So now we're back to discussion.
I would make a motion that we table this until we have a chance to meet with the new administrative team.
Okay. We already talked about we don't have to have a second for a table it. So is the consensus that we table it until we get the new principal in?
I think so, and we're missing 2 board members, and this, I mean, this will be a highly charged topic.
Okay.
But I think we had some good conversation on this.
Okay. So let's table this until we have a little bit more thought from it.
Now, as we work on handbooks, that means the handbooks we bring to you in July will have one item in there, and it will have to be edited after we bring it to you in July. Because we have to approve handbooks in July to have them ready for August.
Yeah, right.
So I just want to make sure that, can we just agree that that one item will have to be edited after that meeting?
Yes.
Do we meet again?
No, we won't meet again until we need to give to parents.
Oh,
That's why I want to make sure that that's,
Throw a special on there somewhere.
I don't think I'll have time to.
No.
No, I think that's fine, as long as we know when they're presented to us that
Yeah,
that's a,
yeah. I just want to be honest
it's only
about
nice
that.
to look, so.
so that they'll get the book without that in it?
No, we'll just have to put in what we approve at the board table.
Okay.
We'll just have to take that to them.
Okay.
So what you get at the board table of the high school handbook, that one section, lunch, essentially, we'll have to have adjustments based on what we decided here.
And then we put that out.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we'll table it. Item G, approval of the operational sharing procedures.
So much of this is similar to last year. There's a few changes. Obviously, we've got the college and career transition coordinator with extra trying to look at what I put in the packet instead of this. I have a spreadsheet, which I didn't think was very user friendly, but it's kind of how I think. So let me get right.
You thinking spreadsheet, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I work off a spreadsheet. I'm not very documenting. So we won't really have a big change with the college and career transition coordinator. This is the position with Jill Whistler that we share with Indian Hills and Moravia. We'll continue to serve as a flow through for that money and get 2 days a week of that staff member. That has been a really nice addition. The neat thing that the state did during the legislative session, haven't said that very often recently. The neat thing that was done there was that this actually got exempted from the 21 max. So I call it CCTC does not cost 2 of your 21 student count that you can get out of sharing, operational sharing. Just a little interesting piece there. Administration, making a couple changes there, proposing a couple changes there, sorry. Again, continuing to share me, point 2, to serve as Moravia's Special Education Director, and then sharing Sam back, point 2, to serve as a Human Resources Director for us. Sam and I would meet in person or virtual each Friday to address concerns in these 2 departments. We'll also be available to each other, work on an as-needed basis beyond the Fridays. Similar to what I've done for them this year, him doing that back for me. A benefit to the districts, obviously, in sharing the two of us in that way is each district will produce 9 student count FTE financially. So we're producing, in our case, $70,650 of my salary is produced by sharing me, point 2. We're proposing that each district send the $10,000 back and forth to each other that like they had sent for my time last year. So that ends up profiting each district. Because we'll get, for Sam as HR, we'll produce 4 weighting. For me as superintendent, we'll produce 9, so we'll produce a total of 13, which is a little over $100,000 that we'll produce in new funding as a result of that. So it's a real benefit to both districts. We are proposing also sharing Aaron 20% of his time in Moravia. We won't have a new building being built next year, I hope.
Me too.
If we're building a new building, something went very wrong. to oversee the work being done with the maintenance department there. They're looking at some transitions and how they're doing things next year and wanted a little bit extra support. We would produce for Aaron, for student council, about $31,000 of his salary would be produced through the funding formula for us. Moravia would be paying in $13,500, which would be a stipend to Aaron to cover nights and weekends where he's covering activities to try to help them out too if there's an emergency. So if the boiler not blows up, that's probably a real thing. But like if the boiler stops working and he's got to be the guy to go help them figure it out, this is getting him called in. You know, we do call in Aaron on a lot of nights and weekends, and this would allow them the opportunity to say, Aaron, we have no clue how to fix this. Can you come and help us out? So it helps cover that cost a little bit. We are looking at there's one more, counselor. So instead of purchasing 0.2 time of Dina Swenson, I'm proposing that we purchase 50% of Dina Swenson's time, so she's at Lakeview every morning of the week, to be able to take some of the pressure off of our one counselor there. That will put us at 1.5 counselors at Lakeview instead of 1.2, and allows our current counselor, Megan Kirkland, a little bit more time to do small group and individual counseling beyond just the classes that she teaches, which really helps us kind of hit some of those social emotional needs there. And that would be at a cost of 1/2 of our counselor contract. One thing Moravia requested in this is if our principal could be the one to do Dina's evaluation, even though she's on a Moravia contract, because the principal for the elementary school is her husband. So they would like to not have her husband evaluate her. And I didn't see that as a major issue for us, and she'd be with us 50% of the time. At the end of the day with this, we net $126,150 in funds for the district because of this series of sharing. And we still have a handful of points towards the 21 that we could get. We have some other districts that have reached out about some possibilities. Just got to see if that works out. We were not, I don't think that Centerville had done a lot of sharing since they ended with Moulton a number of years ago. I think we started up last year with the first sharing we've done in a while.
I think so too.
Right now, you're seeing a lot of districts work to try to get as close to that 21 as they can, because the funding just hasn't kept up for districts, and trying to find all the angles that you can get to stay ahead of the game.
Okay, questions on all of that? Okay, no questions. Does the board want to take action?
Motion to approve the sharing positions.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the operator sharing positions. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Thank you. Transportation purchase and lease approvals. We have, that's on the table. Going back, I know that Mike Kincaid has given us previously a 15-year plan for vehicle purchase, and I think this is just at the point where we're executing the plan, so. And you can see buses have not gotten any cheaper over time. And what is it, 18 month lease?
It's an 18-month, yep, and it'll be billed on the correct year for our long-range plan. I was just trying to pull up the long-range plan here. But it will be next July 1 that we're due to be billed for the next bus, and this will be ready, hopefully be ready by then.
So, are we gonna make a payment this year for a bus we're not gonna get for a year?
No.
We won't have to make a payment until
Okay.
it's ready, and he says 18 months.
Okay.
So we have,
Well, I'm just, because this is July 24's got, or 25's got July 24 here. Yeah. I'm assuming they're not gonna bill until we deliver.
Right.
Okay.
that was the understanding that was worked off of, so
Yeah.
the understanding off of which we worked.
Okay. Then they need to clean up their spreadsheet.
Yeah. What they've got is email logging on there too, so there's gotta be a whole bunch fixed there. Yeah, so we have 2 on fiscal year 2026.
Okay.
And we will be updating that transportation plan, getting the mileage as they actually show up on the buses, this summer. Mike and I probably in July, I would say, is when we'll probably get to that. We'll get some mileage readings on those and update because you remember it calculates out off of what we estimate it will be, so we'll get the new calculations put in for that.
That was the only question that I had, was the date of that spreadsheet.
Motion to approve transportation purchase and lease.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the transportation purchase and lease. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, all opposed. Thank you. Approve personnel business procedures as listed in the board packet, and there's one on the table.
On the table is our ag teacher, by the way. Really happy to have filled that nice and quick with an awesome candidate.
Mr. Taylor, where did you find the ag teacher?
We're feeling pretty good. Honestly,
Think so.
we were thinking about buying a Powerball ticket. I'm not gonna lie.
You scored, bud.
We're feeling good. Yeah. Yeah, she's fantastic too. She's real high energy, very positive person, has a lot of great plans. So we're cooking with gas right now.
Motion to approve personnel business procedures as listed in the packet.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to approve personnel business procedures. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Thank you, they are approved. Financial reports. There's an addition to some bills on your table there, plus all that are in the packet. Thank you. We have a motion to approve financial reports and bills. Second.
Second.
And we have a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Thank you. Superintendent's report.
I will tell you, we've been running, getting things taken care of from the end of the year. We finished the year strong. We're really proud of our award ceremony. Jennifer Hand got the Mishler Teacher of the Year, which is, Jennifer, if you don't know her, is just a fantastic teacher. Just a real beacon of professionalism that I know when I was an early career teacher here, that I really looked up to the way that she did her job and aspired to be like her as I continued to progress. So I know I was really happy to see her get that. The Lakeview PTO got the Friend of Education Award, so that was a really cool thing. A group that's worked really hard for the district and trying to make our environment better for kids. We're really proud of them. We are deep into the work of getting all that ordered, that playground, by the way, so that should be installed sometime this summer, and I know Sarah's working on a plan for a ribbon cutting, as we will start to work on a plan for a ribbon cutting for our new high school sometime in August, probably early August. The sale was an absolute hit. Anybody who had a chance to go through it, it was awesome. We raised just a hair under $4,000 to go towards the weight room equipment, but I'd say by far more importantly, there were a lot of people that were leaving with something to remember the high school with. It was really neat, the number of people that came through where Lisa and I were taking the money at the end, and they were like, well, I got this chair because it was in this person's room, and I always remembered this person would sit in it, or, you know, there was always a good story to go along with it. We had a celebrity sighting, with Glenn Moritz coming through.
Oh, gosh.
That was a win. A lot of, I saw, I know you had one, a few other people had pictures with Glenn Moritz at the sale, and I think any chance you get to see Glenn Moritz somewhere is a win for everybody. So, it was really neat to just see all the people come through and talk about what was great about that building for them, and to get to have a chance to remember it. We were busy, I think we finally, because we'd extended to 5 o'clock, and then people were still coming in. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna turn anybody away, so we'll just stay until the last person leaves and there's nobody waiting. I think it was 10 till 7 when we finally took off, but all the way up to the end, people were in there just enjoying the old building and talking about the great things that happened there. So it was really a cool piece of closure for that building. Today I hear the mantelpiece got taken out to be able to go into the new cafeteria. We're really excited about that. We made a plan we're gonna attempt to put the old scoreboard in the new gym, probably as decoration, not as an actual scoreboard for that gym, because the control boards are, I think, tough to come by for that kind, but something to pay homage to the old building there. So a lot of good stuff going on. We're kind of locked out of a lot of spaces over there right now, so we're just, I think we've got some homeless administrators working wherever they can find a table, and that works out pretty well. So that's what I've got for you today.
Okay. Any questions for Mark? All right, takeaways. Left off with our rotation. Carol.
We haven't really had an opportunity to share takeaways since graduation, but I just have to say, being part of that ceremony on stage, congratulating the kids was something I will never forget, and I want to do it every year.
Okay. Okay.
I just absolutely loved it. Part of that is knowing the kids, you know, the kids that I taught, and then the other thing I want to talk about, the property disposal on Tuesday, if you want to call it that, thank you for staying extra, because that really meant a lot to a lot of people. And you're right, Glenn Moritz, he's an icon.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you. Tim.
I would like to take away from tonight, I think we had some good conversation over some subjects that could be kind of controversial or have pushback on. I think we're making progress, and I don't think we just jumped in too hard. But as long as we do, we have to focus on safety. So I'll just say that.
Okay. All right. Mine is kind of on that line, but just a little bit of here. I've just noticed we've been, and I know we kind of kid Mark about who loves to have something on the old businesses. We're tabling more and more as a board than we used to. And I just know I'm going to be reflecting on that. And I don't know how to take it. So it's something that I'm just not used to having that happen as part of our discussions. It's a new phenomena. So my takeaway is I'm going to think about what we're doing. So, Eric.
Yeah, again, good conversation on a couple of topics today, and I certainly don't think tabling items is necessarily a bad thing. I think it means that as a board, we agree to disagree and get more information. You know, it's nice to be able to have good conversation, good discussion, and see each other's viewpoints without, you know, kicking and screaming and taking my ball and going home. So thank this board for that, and I think that's the right way to do things. You know, we don't want to be a rubber stamp board. We want to get the facts, and so I appreciate everybody for that. I also just want to thank FRK and Ferris. You know, most people outside of the loop don't understand what kind of a headache the gas situation has been for this project. And it's a weight off, at least as a board member perspective, it's a weight off my shoulders. At least knowing where that contingency fund's coming in at, and the work they've done for the district. Again, I know Kevin Stebbins, thanking them for, you know, stepping up. You know, they really could have just said, "I'm sorry, guys." So I think it's good to have partnerships like that.
Bob? No, I'm just kidding.
Two things. One is, you know, I was in the high school, you know, June 4th, and I'm looking around and I'm thinking, what the heck is this costing us per hour? And I'm thinking, you know, this is not a good, this is a very expensive thing. But when you look, you're like you said, when you saw the people carrying something out, that was priceless. And it was a great way to end that building. And I appreciate your vision that I didn't have about this. The second part is, I echo your thoughts about RFK and Bi-State. You never want to burn any bridges. Who knows, we might have to build something someday. And those contractors, those architects, they talk about who's difficult to work with, you know, and who's good to work with. And we want that reputation. We want to be known as good partners.
Appreciate it. Okay, thank you for the takeaways. Now, we do need to move into closed session. We may need closed session for a little while, so I'm proposing of like a 5-minute personal break.
That'd be great. That's just thinking about it.
Yeah, mostly because I need it. So. All right, welcome back. We've had a little bit of a recess as we're waiting on our attorney to come online, so we need to, at this point, go with item 10, closed session. And I'm going to need somebody to read this and make a motion. Discuss the strategy with counsel in matters that are presently in litigation where disclosure would likely to prejudice or disadvantage the position of the governmental body in that litigation. Iowa Code Section 21.5, subparagraph 1, subparagraph C. So we need a motion and a second to go into it, just a roll call.
Motion and a second.
So we do need a motion and a second to that effect.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to go into closed session. Roll call, please.
Berger,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Heffron,
Yes.
Johnson and Moore are both absent. Liskus,
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Okay. We are now in closed session. Okay. All right, so we are back in open session. We have ended our closed session with council. So item 10 is done. At this point, it's item number 11, which is to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a double second in order to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Thank you very much for your time.